Hey, welcome back to my channel. I originally planted this tree on May 11th and posted a video about it on May 19th. From that video, I received a few comments stating that I dug the hole too small. I dug the hole that size because that's what my nursery suggested. I asked them for tips on how to get this thing to grow. They said dig a hole the exact same size as the container. So that's what I did. With the terrible soil I have, I should have stuck to the online guidance of digging it at least 2 to 3 times wider, and that's wider, not bigger. You want to make sure you don't go deeper than the actual root ball, or even wider if you have bad soil. In my case, I do have bad soil. The reason I have bad soil is when the builders built this house 15 years ago, they had to raise the ground level up 5 to 10 feet to avoid any water issues. So to do that, they basically dumped a lot of fill dirt, which is red clay in my area. Dump truck loads of this stuff and just steamrolled it. Drove over it with the dump trucks to pack it down so they could build a house. It worked for that purpose, but when you're trying to plant trees, it is not an ideal growing condition. Here I'm trying to dig just right up to where the root ball used to be. I expect to see some roots kind of poking through. I wasn't that close there. I think that was just grass roots that I saw. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper and see if I can actually see the black soil of that root ball. Now I can kind of see the black soil and I see some roots, so I think I'm close enough. So this video sped up into just 10 minutes, but it was really, when you take into account the whole video, was 3 days worth of work. Again, I only spent about an hour each day, but on this day, all I did was this one side, and it took about an hour, and it's, probably 85, 90 degrees outside, so you can imagine how exhausting and how miserable this is. So that just goes to show, make sure you dig your hole the right size the first time. There's an old adage I ran across: dig a $100 hole for a $10 tree. And that's so true because here I dug a $10 hole for a $50 tree and I'm paying for it on this 90-degree day. Fast forward a few days, I'm going to start on the other side. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to pull up all the mulch and put it in this bucket so I can save it for later. Under the mulch I have built up a little mound of rich topsoil to hold the water in when I water the tree. What I'll end up doing in the future is I'll knock that mound of rich topsoil down, kind of taper it off. But while I'm watering it 2 and 3 times a week, it makes it a little bit easier if there's like a little dam all the way around the tree to hold the water. That way the water don't go running off into areas that don't need to be. So I think I've gotten close enough now. As you can see, the dark soil from the root ball, you can see there, and you can also see some roots poking through. So I don't want to go much further. I don't want to damage the roots anymore. If you think about it, when you're putting the root ball in the ground, they say to cut the roots so new roots kind of grow off of it. So I don't think my shovel slicing through a few roots, especially on the ends, are really going to cause any damage. It may even help. But I don't want to push it, so I didn't go much further than that. I I had some Osmocote laying around, which is a slow release fertilizer. So I went ahead and sprinkled that into the newly dug out areas, maybe to try to stimulate a little bit more growth toward those areas, and also put some, kind of in the tree there where I water it. So hopefully that helps, and I'm not sure if you're supposed to put Osmocote on a Tulip Poplar, but I did, so we'll see how that turns out. So I had the same problem with 2 Leyland Cypresses that I planted maybe a month prior to that Tulip Poplar. So these things have been in the ground a little bit longer, but still I think they're going to have the same problem. That is very compacted soil. So I'm going to dig out on each side, give the roots a little bit of room to grow with some loosened soil. And one other thing I wanted to point out, you may have to back up in this video a little bit, but right behind me are 3 other Leyland Cypresses, and as you can tell, they look very stunted. The one to the top of the video is still very tiny, and then the other one looks kind of weird. Those Leylands were planted 3 years ago, and they're almost the exact same size as they were when they were planted. My thought is, same situation here. I think I dug the hole the size of the container, so that compacted soil didn't give the roots enough room to grow, so the tree themselves hasn't grown because the roots are just kind of probably circling around in its own root ball. Not to mention, on those I planted them too deep. On these I actually built them up on a mound before I planted them. So hopefully with doing this process of digging bigger holes and also having them kind of raised above ground a little bit, hopefully these Leylands will grow. Ended up going a little bit deeper on this Leyland, and as you can tell, I'm definitely into that old root ball with the richer soil, the peat moss, and whatever else is used in the grow containers. So I get a good feeling about this one. And here I'll show that I've dug out probably about 2 times the width of the container off to the side there, and then also on the other side. So theoretically, I've got a hole that's 4 times bigger than the container. So hopefully that'll help this tree grow. Now this is a new day, and it's time to finish up the last Leyland. And again, it's taken me about an hour each time I do this. The Leylands were a little bit quicker than the Tulip Poplar. But still, to do both sides on the Leyland took me, 30 minutes to an hour. I'm not really sure, but in the heat, it definitely feels like multiple hours. So we're nearing the end of the video, and if you've hung on this long, I appreciate it. And I hope you take one thing from the video, and that's make sure you dig your holes the right size to begin with. It's going to save yourself a lot of headache. As you can tell, I had to do this 3 different times, and it was a nightmare. But if you enjoyed, I hope that you hit the like button below and subscribe, because my future videos will show status on these trees and show if they are still alive or not.